Grayson Rodriguez shows signs of what we all knew that he could become. And Anthony Santander screams, "Game!" in the bottom of the ninth with a huge blast. Let's have a mound visit and talk about it. Let's go, O's! What's going on, Birdland? Baltimore Bops here, and welcome to the Baltimore Bops YouTube channel, where we discuss all things Baltimore Orioles. Please consider sharing, and subscribing to this content, as this is the place where Baltimore Orioles come to chop it up about the Birds baseball. And without further stinking ado, how about them stinking Birds, guys? What a stinking ball game. Game 1, 2 hours, 32-minute rain delay, and 30-something thousand Baltimore Orioles fans stick around, and they witness one of the best games of the year. And what I want to talk about first before we kind of get into the recap is Grayson Rodriguez. What a stinking outstanding story. Starts the year on the team, doesn't necessarily have everything kind of working in order. Brandon Hyde and the organization decided to send him back down to AAA Norfolk so that he can tweak some things, fix some things. And let me tell you something. Since that kid has come back up here, he has been a different pitcher. And tonight was his best performance yet. My man Grayson Rodriguez went toe-to-toe with the American League All-Star starting pitcher Garrett Cole. And he went 6 1/3, giving up only 3 hits, 2 walks, and 4 strikeouts. And when I say that stinking fastball was humming today, it was stinking humming, son. He was up around 100 all night. So he has had great velo since he's come back. And I also saw a statistic that said that 97 of his pitches, out of those 97, 70 of them were located. So, I mean, this guy is not only throwing high velo, but he is locating his pitches, and he had an outstanding ball game, guys. Don't let this start go over your heads. A lot of people are clamoring, myself included, for the Birds to go out into the marketplace and get us another quality starting pitcher, and we still may very well need to do that. But the organization may also be looking at, hey, I think we got our guy right here, and I think that you've seen what Grayson Rodriguez is capable of. 6 1/3, 3 hits, 2 walks, 4 Ks against the New York Yankees, who are in last place in the AL East, but they're not that far behind in the grand scheme of things. And when Grayson Rodriguez tells you after the game, hey, this was like a playoff atmosphere, and for him to have that mentality that this was like a playoff atmosphere, and for him to perform the way that he did, man, that shows a lot of maturity. That shows that the spotlight is not too big for him. And that kid stinking battled. And you could even tell after 97 pitches in the 7th, when Brandon Hyde had to come in because it was a 0-0 game, he didn't want to leave. The kid's a competitor. And that's exactly what we want. So, hey, man, what a stinking ball game by Grayson Rodriguez. It was just fun to watch, man. It's good to see him be successful. It's good to see him be successful in that spotlight. And just what an exciting start for him. And hey, also hats off to the 35,000 Baltimore Orioles that stuck out that stinking rain delay. Said it was hot. It was muggy. The weather just looked ominous the whole time. And Birdland stayed there to support that team, and I think that was the first home game that Baltimore's played as the AL leading East team. So, hats off to the Birds for staying put and seeing what ended up being. It went from kind of a pitcher's duel dry game, not a lot of offense, obviously, 1-0, to an absolute game that you will remember for the rest of your life if you stuck it out, and that's why you stay. So let's get into the box score. Now, great news. Gunnar Henderson is back for the Baltimore Orioles. Shocking news. The judge came back as well. So, fortunately, he was not able to hurt us, if you will, because we just put him on first base. He walked 3 times tonight, And you know what? That's not necessarily a bad thing. Just every once in a while, you got to kind of pitch around somebody like that. And especially when you don't have any offense. And maybe that's exactly what the Birds did. They just pitched around him, let him take his bag, and we'll attack the other Yankees. But I digress. Like I said, Gunnar Henderson is back. Now, he went 0 for tonight, but it's good to see him back in that lineup. And so that was real good to see that it's not some serious thing that's going to keep him sidelined like unfortunately, Cedric Mullins or Aaron Hicks. So Gunnar went 0 for. Adley went 1 for 4. Santander went 1 for 4. But his one, oh, baby, it was a big one. Ryan O'Hearn went 0 for. Ryan Mountcastle went 1 for 3. Adam Frazier went 0 for. Austin Hayes went 0 for with a walk. Kowser went 0 for. And Urias went 1 for 3. Birds were only able to put together 4 hits because Garrett Cole was stinking lights out. I mean, the guy was just almost untouchable, and the Birds had a lot of problems, putting the ball in play. And they barreled up a couple. I mean, I think earlier in the game, Santander, he drove one, just didn't get enough of it. Adam Frazier almost went yard, but they just didn't have enough of the barrel on the ball to get it over the fence. So, 1 run on 4 hits and no errors for the Birds. Now let's get into the actual play-by-play. Now, we're not going to delve too much into, 1 through 6, 1 through 7, because it truly was a pitcher's duel. And Grayson Rodriguez and Garrett Cole were absolutely lights out. It was a great stinking pitching matchup. And, there was obviously zero offense. Ramon, he's playing third base. He goes to his throwing arm side down the line one time, snags one, and then throws it over to first to get G-Rod out of the inning. You had Adam Frazier that made 2 just fantastic diving plays to his glove side, I think in the 3rd and the 8th, to preserve, especially that 8th inning one, to preserve the lead when the Yankees had runners on first and second. We'll talk about that here shortly. And then talk about the hero himself. He even made a stinking diving catch out in right field to keep some ducks off the pond. So, I mean, just a great pitching, great defensive game. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the top of the 7th. So, Grayson Rodriguez is still pitching. He strikes out Giancarlo Stanton. So, this is where he's feeling real good. You're kind of like, okay, it's 0-0 right now. You know that Brandon Hyde is going to have that tight hook, and it's only going to be a matter of somebody reaching before he gets yanked. And unfortunately, Grayson LeMahieu comes up and he singles to right, and it was a real hard hit ball. Fortunately, it careened off of the right field wall. It goes past first, hits that right side foul wall, and then creams back to Anthony, and he's able to get it in fairly quickly. But Brandon Hyde, he's not going to take a chance in a game that is so close. So, unfortunately, pulls the hook on G-Rod. 6 1/3, best outing of his career. That's the longest he's ever gone, and he pitched phenomenal, like we've already said 100 times. Now, Fuji comes in for him, and Velo looked real good, but unfortunately, with a runner on first, his first batter, he misses high on a full count, and he walks McKinney, putting LeMahieu at second. So you got first and second, only 1 out, and then Bader comes in, and Fuji is able to get him to ground into a top half of the inning, double play to short, huge stinking play. And Fuji had a little bit of emotion after that too, because he understood how, important that moment was. And it very much was important for the Birds as they worked through that traffic. Now, bottom half of the 7th, the Birds can't do anything. Hearn strikes out, Mountie grounds out to second, and then Frazier grounds out to first. So we get to the top of the 8th. This is where, starts to get real interesting. So Yin Year Cano comes in, and Volpe lines out to right. And this is that catch that I said where, Anthony Santander goes to his glove side and just completely lays out, robbing Volpe of maybe possibly extra bases and putting the Yankees in a good spot with nobody down to go ahead in this game. But nope, Anthony Santander's defense has greatly improved this year. And so it's good to see him out there holding it down on both sides of the stinking ball. So Bowers hits for Rortvedt. Now Bowers comes in and singles off of Yenier. And then Torres grounds into a fielder's choice to third. Bowers is out at second. But then the very next batter, he walks the judge, putting Torres to second. So you got runners on first and second, 2 down, and Brandon Hyde goes with a matchup. He brings in Danny Colomb to face Rizzo. And what does he get Rizzo to do? Ground out to second, preserving the tie. So the Birds were able to escape some traffic in that top half of the eighth, and that was huge, man, because once again, Yenier has not been, he's not been as good as he has been. We'll just put it that way. A lot of people were talking about the arm angle. It's flattening out his pitches. People are being able to touch him up. And the command is not necessarily there like it was earlier in the year. But Danny's able to get him out of the inning. The Baltimore Orioles go to the bottom of the eighth. And King comes in to pitch for the New York Yankees. Now, Hayes draws a inning-leading walk. So you got runner on first, Cowser strikes out, Urias strikes out, and then they go with a pitching matchup themselves and bring in Peralta, who gets my man Gunnar to ground into a fielder's choice to short. So, bottom half of the eighth, the Birds were unable to do anything. We go into the ninth, and who do we bring in? Well, we're not going to play any games. So we bring in the Mountain. And what does the Mountain do? Who, unfortunately, we didn't get to use him in Philly, but guess what that means? That means that he is extremely rested and ready to go. Well, he only strikes out Giancarlo Stanton. And then he gets LeMahieu to fly out to right. And then he sits McKinney down with a K as well. It's amazing how many outs Felix Bautista gets by himself striking people out. I mean, the guy is the best closer in stinking baseball. And his pitching, his ability to do that guy that you can bring in and just absolutely stinking dominate is the reason. It's what set up the Orioles for that bottom half of the ninth. Now we move to the bottom of the ninth, and the Yankees are thinking, hey, we're going to bring in Conley, and we're going to shut this thing down, and we're going to go into extras. And you know what? It kind of started to look like maybe that's what might transpire, but guess what? You got to face 2, 3, 4, and the O's 2, 3, 4 is a pretty competent part of the lineup. Well, Adley goes down swinging. So Adley strikes out, but then my man Anthony Santander steps to the plate. Bottom of the ninth, 1 out, works a 2-0 count, and Conley throws him exactly what he was looking for. A stinking middle of the plate, bottom half of the strike zone, changeup that he fully extends on and takes it 425 feet out into right field for a game-winning mash. And when I say that when that ball came off that bat, almost immediately you could see Anthony flip it because he knew, I got it. I got that thing, and it is stinking gone. And he turns around to the Baltimore Orioles dugout, and he flexes. Man, stinking hard. And then my man trots around the bases, and he gets himself the tastiest, probably stinking Gatorade bath that he has ever had. I mean, what a stinking big moment. 35,000 Orioles fans clad in orange and black, and you get a round tripper in the bottom half of the ninth in what many said seemed like a playoff game. Huge, guys. Huge stinking game. I mean, oh, it doesn't get much better than that. That's why you stay up. That's why you stay up, because it's just sweeter when you see it in person than when you watch it on ESPN, when you watch it on the highlights. When you see that thing happen in person, man, just beautiful, 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 beautiful. Stinking excited for Anthony, excited for the Birds. That home run, 1-0 Orioles in a pitcher's duel with an Anthony Santander smash puts them to 63-40. And unfortunately, the Tampa Bay Rays still won, so the Birds are still a game and a half up in the AL East. So, 63-40, they will take that record into Saturday's game, 7:15 first pitch. And the Baltimore Orioles will be sending out Tyler Wells, and the New York Yankees will be sending out Schmidt. If you want to look at a little bit more of that matchup, by all means, go back to my Orioles and Yankees preview, where we preview this pitching matchup. And this is going to be a huge game because the Orioles are currently 6-5 against the New York Yankees this year. They need one of these last two games to hold that tie record, that tiebreaker against the Yankees. Just one. That's it. And then hypothetically, if somehow the New York and Baltimore tie, the tie goes to the Birds because of the head-to-head. So we have two games, guys. Two games, 6-5 lead right now to get this thing done. Let's go ahead and get it done tonight. What do you say? So, like I said, 7:15 first pitch, Tyler Wells on the hill, and we will see if Birdland can make it happen again. But, look, guys, once again, savor this. Savor it. Camden Yards, midnight, New York Yankees, first place in the AL East, 0-0, ninth inning, walk-off. That's why you love baseball, baby. I'll catch you on the next one, Birdland.